the upcoming new moon solar eclipse that is happening on September 21st at 3:54 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please adjust for wherever you are in the world. Will be happening in the early degrees of Virgo. And if you're like, hey, wait a minute, everybody's saying that it's like happening at 29 degrees Virgo. Or if you're a regular consumer of my content, you're like, wait a minute, shouldn't it be in a different sign? Well, hey, this is where this lens of astrology differs from both the mainstream Western astrology, which is limited by the material cycles, and also Vedic astrology, which still accounts for every zodiac sign having 30 degrees. This particular lens actually uses the alchemical energetic combinations, alchemical astronomy. So we're looking at the visible sky, and when you look at Virgo, the constellation, you can see that that shit's freaking enormous, okay? This sign has 42 degrees. Okay, Pisces is also massive, right? So this particular lens of astrology, as I mentioned, is also known as alchemical astronomy. Astronomy being the study of the movement of the planets and the stars. Astrology being the interpretation of astronomy to apply to our human life in this game that we're playing in these meat suits, okay? So this particular lens of astrology not only captures the lower cycles, the material, but also the celestials, and it is more accurate than any of those systems that I have worked with, and as an autistic polymath, I know some things. So let's get into the specifics for this particular lunation. You know me, I don't tend to sensationalize, but folks, the last several reports that I've done of this nature have been rather sensational. We can see, even just looking at this chart at first glance, there's some really interesting aspect patterns going on. The last new moon, we had a castle formation. This new moon, we have a kite formation, okay? And so it's not just where everything is, but how everything is interacting with each other that is creating literally a portal to your new world, your new earth. This is the new paradigm being born, okay? The new moon is always the beginning. We set intentions. It's the dark moon. The moon is at the lowest point of its lunation cycle, so it is not visible in the sky. It is not emitting the same magnetic force of pulling things to the surface from us. So we are a bit more clear as far as our emotions go and our ability to set a new intention. So as always, the new moon means that the sun and the moon are at the same point, okay? And they're at the same point in the early degrees of Virgo. Mercury is pretty close by. Mercury is the ruler of Virgo. So we have a lot of mental energy going on here. Virgo's a bit of an anomaly because it's an earth sign, but again, it's ruled by Mercury. So it's a mental earth sign. It's all about analysis, organization, improvement, like precision, getting things together, and like, taking things from the void in Pisces and turning them into something practical and organized in the physical world. So we've got the sun and the moon here at the new moon, the beginning of this lunation cycle, this Mercurian energy enhancing the mental focus as far as the Virgo energy is concerned. And both of these are opposing our friends Saturn and Neptune, which are both in retrograde and still considered conjunct in Pisces. So we've got the builder and the dissolver, the masculine and the feminine, social planets, right? So they move slowly. This is a collective theme of bringing more seriousness to your spirituality, dissolving the old structures, the old way of being, the hustle and the grind, the external locus, the patriarchy. This is bringing a more magical existence to the entire collective, whether they believe in freaking magic or not, okay? So we've got this push-pull, this tension running between the new intentions, the sun and the moon, and Mercury all in Virgo, wanting to focus on the material world and building, but then we've got all of this like really spacey, unwinding, lost in the sauce kind of energy as well. So you might be finding yourself kind of pulled between two worlds when it comes to your magical self and the experiences that you're having in the astral realm, and then like what you're seeing in the physical world, or like feeling limited by your ability to change things in the physical world as quickly as you can change things in the astral world. Okay, now this lunation is also happening right on the cusp of the autumnal equinox as well. So we do have that seasonal shift. We were celebrating the movement from light to dark and the lower cycles of the earth, as well This is a solar threshold and a seasonal portal. So this equinox is basically a moment of equal light and dark and a reset point for the celestial balance between the material and the spiritual. So that's the most obvious tension that's going on in the chart, is this push-pull between building in the physical world, precision, clarity, practical, like hands-on, building something in that Virgo kind of energy, and then this like void, disillusionment, like getting lost in the sauce, escapism kind of energy that is being pushed on, right? Like this push-pull, being caught between two worlds. Now, we do also have a lot of supportive energy going on around this opposition, including a grand trine in the earth energy. So we've got all this cluster of energy going on here in Virgo. We've got Pluto in retrograde in Capricorn, and we've got Uranus in retrograde also in Taurus. Okay, so the grand trine, all three earth elements trining each other, supportive energy, bringing this like earthly realignment, structural upgrades. It's kind of like a reality check almost, as well as far as your physical world is concerned. We may see innovations, sudden shakeups in your physical world, shifts in power dynamics on the world stage. And all of this is going to be channeled through your day-to-day, right? This is really great for embodiment, building systems, getting into your body healing, somatic work, working with the earth, ley lines, anything like that you're called to do during this time is going to be supported by this lovely grand trine happening at the same time as this lunation. This is also going to add in a kite pattern, okay? So when we take the grand trine into consideration with this oppositional energy, it's bringing that harmony within the earth elements and the supportive energy within these outer planets coming together to support the sun, the moon, and Mercury in Virgo, building things in the physical world. But this energy of Saturn and Neptune opposing that, as well as bringing the tail to a kite formation. So this is adding that emotional and spiritual tension to the grounded growth. Again, really this like dynamic of polarity between the physical, material world and the spiritual. And this is really what it is to be a human, folks. We're not just material beings, we're also spiritual. We're meant to operate in the Pisces Vesica, the middle of the Venn diagram, where two circles combine, material, spiritual, right in the middle. That's where humans are supposed to be, right? This lunation is really giving the remembering of that power that we have as material creatures that also have supernatural, spiritual capacities. Now, not visible on here as well, we do also have a T-square happening between Mars in Virgo. So Mars is our like doing energy, drive, desires, how we do, how we be in the world, also aggression. Mars in Virgo can be kind of like focused on perfectionism, could also be really wrapped up in things needing to be done properly, being really rigid in the way that you're doing things, needing things to be like all or nothing kind of mentality. Things have to be a certain sort of way, or like you're not going to do it at all idea. Workaholism, right? Like really finding yourself having difficulty breaking away from the doing and letting yourself sink into the receiving. So this energy, Mars in Virgo, is opposing Chiron in retrograde in Pisces. This is our biggest wounds internalized regarding our feminine receivership, our ability to tap into our intuition, the waters of the collective, that deep intuitive vibe that comes with Pisces, all of that expansive energy, any wounds that you have around your spirituality or any of that kind of feminine expansive energy, these two are pushing on each other. And hey, just as a side note, this is exactly on my natal sun, which is opposing my natal Pluto conjunct Saturn in Virgo. So I'm feeling a bit activated as far as my purpose and the limitations that have come up regarding my purpose. But I digress. As a collective, this tension between Mars in Virgo and Chiron in Pisces is also squaring Pluto, the death bringer, the ender of cycles in Capricorn. This is the slow dismantling over the next 18 years of all of these oppressive externalized structures, the hustle, the grind, the patriarchy, the connection of your worth to your productivity. All of that is, there's a lot of tension between this. So your ability to receive, your ability to be magical and intuitive, your desire to do things properly and have a plan and a structure in the physical world, and all of these these old systems that are outdated and coming to the end of their lifespan because there's just as much destruction. Like everything that is built has to die, essentially, right? Everything that is built is destroyed. Everything that is born dies. Like this is the natural cycle of polarity in the human experience, of the natural order of the universe. Okay, so we're in a really interesting epoch right now where we're seeing the end of that old way of being over the next 20 years, and it starts inside. Okay, so currently we're experiencing this tension between your receivership, your wounds, you're wanting to do things properly, and then the ending of all of these cycles and the old way of being. So you might find yourself bumping up against situations and circumstances in your physical world that are still limiting you, and your invitation with that is that you can choose to do things differently before your circumstances change. You can choose to feel differently, and when you do that, that is when the circumstances outside of you change. Again, I really want to focus, or like I reiterate that there is a strong theme of workaholism, doing too much, right? Like working yourself into the ground. You might feel like in order to bring this new life into fruition, you have to do more. And there is some doing, that's for sure, but there is more receiving and opening yourself up to endless magical potentials. And in opening yourself up, paying attention to the blank space and the receivership and the feminine energy, we are going to be able to then do things that are more heart-centered and directly connected to your dharma. And you only have to do a third of the time, okay? You don't have to work yourself into the ground to bring the new earth into reality. You actually have to just work less, but work focused on things that are connected to your dharma. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to prove your worth. You're worthy and whole and complete just as you are right now. And actually, the less that you do in that kind of energy, the more successful that you're going to be. The way through is not more hustle. It is precision, presence, and pacing yourself. Slow and steady wins the race. Watch yourself with all this mental energy, like pressuring you to do more. Remember that you are going to be more productive if you actually rest. And when you are resourced from a physiological and energetic standpoint, the work that you do will not only be easier, it'll be more impactful. Now, we also have 3 freaking yods in this aspect patterning, which are not visible on this chart, but I'm going to point them out to you. And even the order that I'm going to present these 3 yods is interesting, okay? They involve the divine masculine and the divine feminine and the deep intangibility of the human collective unconsciousness, okay? So yod number 1 has an apex of Venus here, okay? So there's a 150-degree angle going to Pluto. There's a 150-degree angle going to Saturn and Neptune, and then there's a quincunx, a 60-degree angle right here. So that forms this little triangle like so, okay? So the Venus as the apex, Venus in Leo is valuing pleasure, valuing creativity, valuing heart-centered charisma, heart-centered leadership. The South Node making its way through Leo over the next 2 years is bringing an end to performative spirituality, performative leadership, egoic kind of leadership, like, doing things for the likes, doing things for the image of it. This is bringing a more heart-centered, authentic vibe to leadership, creativity, a passion, playfulness, all of that, pleasure, all of that is in Leo. So Venus in Leo is bringing a heightened sense of value, right, to your play. Like, can you play more? Can you enjoy your current circumstances? Can you enjoy even the shitty circumstances that you're dealing with right now? Okay, so we have this theme of Venus in Leo, the apex of the yod, interacting with Pluto, the dismantler in Capricorn, and Saturn, the builder, and Neptune, the dissolver in Pisces. This is 100% the divine feminine under pressure, okay? Venus is the divine feminine, our personal planet representing the feminine, valuing, receptive kind of energy, love, pleasure, self-worth, alchemy, all of that, transmuting the trauma into creativity, intimacy, softness. This shit is fated. It's karmic. It's activating. The apex planet here, so Venus, is where the pressure is directed. So Venus in Leo is feeling the pressure of these old systems crumbling and you wanting to bring a more serious level of devotion to your spirituality, realizing that the world is magical and that you are a magical being and that you can build systems and structures that allow you to experience the magic and the mundane. You don't have to give up your life as a human in order to be magical. magical. You are magical just inherently by being a human being, okay? So we're seeing that kind of tension. We also have a Yod focusing on Mars, which is the divine masculine, with Neptune and Saturn, and then Uranus, okay? Uranus and Taurus is like sudden shakeups in the physical world, sudden shakeups in your resources, in your physical surroundings. Mars in Virgo, again, is like doing things properly, getting your poop in a group, making a plan, focused on your body, focused on your home, like just that kind of organizational alchemy kind of energy. So with this as the apex, this fated karmic activating focus of the Yod is reprogramming your action impulses. It's nervous system rewiring. It's letting go of controlling timelines. It's letting go of all those belief systems that are telling you that you need to do more, and allowing you to then act only when clarity lands. Finally, we have the third Yod with Neptune as the apex. So then we've got Venus and Mars acting as the base, pointing back. So they each have a Yod focused on them, and then they are forming the base to turn the attention on Neptune and Saturn, which is basically choosing mysticism over martyrdom, okay? Like, this is integrating polarity. This is love and action. This is receiving and giving. This is devotion and discipline. Surrender doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean that you're just a wet noodle. It means that you're softening to the flow of what is coming through the field, and you're acting on that shit. So altogether, I'm really getting the deconstruction of false order, old timelines, the hustle and the grind, the patriarchy, all those oppressive structures are falling apart. We are seeing it before our eyes. What an interesting time to be alive, folks. So the breakdown of this hierarchical knowledge, hustle culture, we're seeing also an amplification of our nervous system dissonance. So if your actions aren't in alignment, your body's going to let you know. So if you're feeling out of sorts right now, it's because your body is not in tune with these shifts that are happening in the celestial levels, okay? So the celestial changes first, and then that trickles down into the physical. So you may be experiencing headaches, fatigue, body aches, sudden illness, digestive issues. These sorts of things are all indicative of your physical vessel being too dense to keep up with these celestial energetic changes. In this case, you need to freaking chill, okay? Take a beat. The new moon is a time to just rest as well. I always say natural energy cycles for humans who have uteruses that menstruate, follow that as your energy cycle. If you do not have a uterus that menstruates, using the moon as an energy cycle is a great way to track that movement from light to dark and when to rest and when to do, okay? So like we're really in a low period as far as the energy is concerned. So if you're feeling any sort of way physically or even energetically, lean into that, okay? Do not beat yourself up for needing time to rest. In fact, remember that the more you rest, the more productive you're going to be in the long term, okay? You should also be taking great care of your body right now. Mars and Virgo is going to be telling you this. So you may be motivated to start a new health routine, detox your body, clean up your home. All these sorts of things are going to be good. Your home, your body is your home is your second home, right? So taking care of both of those things, organization, cleaning things up, reducing the amount of toxins in your environment. So the things that you're eating, the things that you're putting on your body, the things that you're consuming, and then the same thing goes for your household. These are going to help to reduce that dissonance in your physical vessel, reduce the static, so that you're then able to attune to the higher frequencies that are coming through with these celestial aspects. So in terms of how to work with these energies, I would say number one is just being mindful of the potential for anxiety and mental focus. Okay, we want to choose refinement, the gifted feature of Virgo, over control or analysis paralysis. So allow that Virgo energy, the discernment of flow, without tipping into too much rigidity, okay? It's that gray area in between. And you don't want to control too much, but you also don't want to be totally loosey-goosey and lost in space. It's finding that middle path. I would also focus on your body. This is a somatic eclipse. We've got this Grand Trine energy. We've got this massive push-pull between the etheric and the physical, okay? Get in your freaking body. Get out of your head. Get out of the future. Get out of the past. Get into the present moment. Now, if you're somebody who has difficulty meditating, you don't need to just sit there and expect your brain to be silent. That is impossible. The brain is always going to be doing something, especially if your body is fear-mongered and poisoned in any way, shape, or form, because the brain is then going to be looking for threats, okay? So don't worry about the brain stopping. Just redirect it to the present moment. So when I first started learning how to meditate, I had to do like walking meditations, right? Because I couldn't sit still. I was like fully neurotic. So walking meditations, but instead of like listening to a podcast or talking to somebody, I'm literally looking at what I'm seeing and narrating it to myself, or focusing on what my body's doing, narrating what my body is doing. Be the driver of your meat robot and bring yourself into the present moment. You can also meditate when you're doing really mundane stuff. Like I feel like a big theme with this lunation and moving forward as well is amplifying the magic and the mundane. You don't need to be doing like crazy feats of like magical strength in order to show that you're magical. Like you can be magical when you're doing the dishes and you're doing the laundry and you're taking care of your home and you're taking care of your body. Like you don't need to be a weirdo and super woo to be magical. Okay. That's what the new earth is all about, is about bringing together the magical and the material. So focus on the body, bring yourself into the present moment. I would also reevaluate your relationship to structure and spirituality. Again, on this note of bringing together the far ends of polarity with the discipline in the material world and the devotion in the spiritual world. Like, can you bring that together and create a mashup in your heart, the apex, the astral bridge, really by asking yourself, like, on one end, where are you escaping into concepts in the astral realm and like all these big ideas? And also, conversely, where are you focused too much on trying to bring things into the fruition in the physical world, right? Like, can you do both of those things? Can you ease off on the polarity of either end of this spectrum and bring yourself into the Pisces Vesica of being a material and a spiritual being? I would be using also this equinox portal as a reset. As I mentioned, the new moon is always a time of reset, new intentions. We're starting a new cycle, but this one in particular, especially because it's at the autumnal equinox, the fall equinox. Autumnal sounds like a weird word for some reason. Fall equinox. We are sitting at a point of equal light and dark. We're moving into the dark in this, and I mean in the northern hemisphere anyways. I know there are some of you who listen to this who are in the southern hemisphere, so you're moving into the light, okay? But here where I am, we are seeing the shift moving towards more darkness in our days, right? So like leaning into the slowness, the devotion, the power of rest and receiving and the not doing, right? That lunar energy versus the solar energy. And finally, I would say also just really paying attention to the dynamic and polarity within yourself of the masculine and the feminine. No matter what your gender is or what kind of body parts you have, all of us have a masculine and a feminine pole. We are all equal parts of both energetically. Remember, the law of three tells us that in order for anything to be created, we need 1 part masculine, 1 part feminine, 1 part blank space. Okay, so that's 1 part doing energy. That's 33.3333%. 1 part expansive feminine energy, receiving energy, and 1 part incubating blank space. So if you're not taking time to rest, if you're not taking at least 33.33333% of your time to do nothing, realistically, whatever you're creating is going to have an imprint of doing too much, and it's going to be felt by whoever's receiving that. In the new earth paradigm, shit is not going to fly, okay? We have to take time to rest, and if you don't, something is going to happen that's going to force that, okay? So if you are in that situation right now, freaking surrender to it. You do not need to hustle and grind. You do not need to work yourself into the ground. That shit is old paradigm. We are leaving that behind. In the new earth, it's not like we're just going to be flying around in outer space and not doing anything any of the time. But the things that we're going to be doing are going to be serving the feminine, expansive, rested, receiving energy. Okay. And that is really what this new moon is all about. It's that dynamic between rest, receivership, and doing. Doing follows the rest and the receivership. So if this sounds like a stretch to you and you would like some support in how to switch yourself from that external locus hustle grind, I got to prove myself and do everything every second of the day, into ease and rest and receivership, I have space open for 2 high-level mentorship clients I also have space for a handful of mini mentorship packages as well. So if that sounds like something that is intriguing to you, leave me a comment, send me a DM on any of my social media platforms. Also, if you want to learn how to read charts like this one, I do have a freebie, an ebook, and a self-paced study course. And finally, if you would like to connect with other heart-led entrepreneurs paving the way into this new earth paradigm of rest, receivership, and magical co-creation with the universe, I have a special announcement as our community that I've been working on with a couple of other heart-centered entrepreneurs is having a grand opening the day after this lunation on the 22nd. It's called Soultivation, and it is a conscious online community that we're hosting on Circle. If you check out either the comments on this video on YouTube or the link in my bio, there will be a wait list if you want to sign up and be one of the first to enter this community. There will be offerings that are there for free, a community tier, which is a lower investment. And then if you're interested in coaching with my friend and colleague, Iran Zahavi, he has that available as well. And then I'm going to be developing my own offers, having my own Bright Light Collective hosted within Soultivation. So if you're interested in any of all of that, check out the link in my bio or the comments on this video. Otherwise, let me know how you're feeling here, folks. How is this lunation hitting you? And if you're still listening to this, thank you for supporting me with your ears and eyes and hearts, and I will see you in the next one.